Hello, this is Mike Hayes, back with another 5 essential blues chord progressions that everyone should know. This video is part 2 in our blues chord progression series. If you'd like to check out part 1, I'll leave a link in the description section below this video. In this lesson, all the blues progressions will be in the key of F. The chords will be played on the 3rd, 4th and 6th strings. All the progressions will be in the 12-bar blues format, and I'll play each example twice. At the top of the screen you'll see Blues 1, and this is just a quick reminder of the original chord progression that we're basing all these variations on. Essentially, the idea is that we want to have chord 1 in bar 1, chord 4 in bar 2, chord 1 in bar 3, and then our next target chord is chord 4 in bar 5, chord 1 in bar 7, and then our target chord is C in bar 9, and then back to chord 1 in bar 11. If we check out Blues 6 at the bottom of the page, which is the progression we're going to be working on now, you'll see this type of format appearing. Even though there's a lot of substitute chords, you can see that there's an F7th in bar 1, a B flat 7 in bar 2, and in this blues we have an A minor 7 in bar 3. However, as you'll recall, we can always substitute chord 3 in a key for chord 1. So if we're thinking about chords in the key of F, chord 1 would be F, and A minor would be chord 3. Down to bar 5, and we have our B flat 7. Over to bar 7, and we have an F7. When we get to bar 9, we have a G minor 7, which we could be thinking of as a 2 chord in a 2-5 progression, the 5 being C7. Then over to bar 11, and we have F7. So essentially we've kept the structure, however there's quite a few substitutions there. And just before we play the blues, I'll go through the progression for you so you can see where the substitutions have come from. Since bars 1 and 2 are the same as our original chord progression, let's start at bar 3. And as we've just discussed, we can use an A minor as a substitute for F. Now what's happening now is my next target that I want to achieve is to create maximum tension in bar 4. And one of the ways I can do this is to have a chord that's the flattened 5th of F in bar 4. That will give us the maximum tension, and that will help us resolve to the B flat chord in bar 5. So what we're doing in bar 3 is we're moving the chords down diatonically. A minor 7 is chord 3 in the key of F. G minor 7 is chord 2 in the key of F. And because my target chord in bar 4 will be B7, which is the flattened 5th of F, I'm going to place an F sharp minor 7 before the B7. That's to create a 2-5 with the F sharp minor moving to B7 and then the B7 resolving a semitone lower to the B flat 7 chord. Bars 7 and 8 feature dominant 7th chords moving down chromatically with the idea of arriving at G minor 7 in bar 9. Bar 10 is G flat 7, which is the flat 5 substitution of C7. Then in bars 11 and 12, we have a cycle turnaround. We have F7 to D7, and then I'm using D flat 7, which is a flat 5 substitution of G7. And then the D flat 7 resolves to C7. Let's have a listen to how that progression sounds. Okay, when you're ready, let's move on to blues progression number 7. For these next couple of progressions, I'm going to begin each chord sequence with a major chord and then move to the dominant 7th. So in bar 1, we have F moving to F7th and then continuing on to chord 4. And in this instance, it's going to be B flat 6 for 2 beats and then moving to B diminished for 2 beats. And as we discussed in video number 1 in the series, this B diminished is functioning as a B flat 7 flat 9 chord. The B diminished reoccurs in bar 6 and then moving on to F major in bar 7. In bar 8 we have an F sharp diminished which is functioning as an F7 flat 9. Bars 9 and 10 are a 2-5 progression. And then in bars 11 and 12 we have a 1-4-1-5 turnaround. And the interesting thing here is that in bar 11 the B flat chord features a 3rd in the bass. Let's have a listen to how that progression sounds. Now on to blues 8, and in bar 2 we have an interesting chord, a D flat 7. In the key of F, the D flat 7 can act as a tritone substitution of the secondary dominant G7, which would normally lead to C7. And if you resolve directly to the tonic, which is what we're doing here, you're simply skipping over the C. And I think you'll agree that this chord has quite a deal of impact in this situation. Over to bar 4 and we have a 2-5 where we'd normally have an F7th. We have C minor 7 moving to F7. And then again in bar 6 we have our B diminished, and as we said it's functioning here as a B flat 7 flat 9. And then in bar 8 we have the return of the F sharp diminished chord, which as we said in the previous blues is functioning as an F7 flat 9. Down to bar 10 and we have G flat 7, which is a flat 5 substitution for C7, and then we have the same turnaround that we had in blues 7, which is a 1-4-1-5 chord sequence with the 4 chord, the B flat, featuring a 3rd in the bass. Let's have a listen. Over to blues 9, Now in bar 2, I have the second chord written as E flat 7. Now the thing with using 3-note chords on guitar is that many of the shapes that we play can have several different applications and therefore several different names. I've written this chord as E flat 7. We could also think of this chord as B flat minor 6 or B flat diminished. And of course, since we're playing this progression at the moment without a bass, this chord is going to sound like a B flat minor 6. However, if you're working with a bass player, you'll hear a completely different effect when you play this shape and the bass plays an E flat. Moving on to bar 7, and we have an A minor 7, and this is really like the flattened fifth of E flat 7. And we've got a 2-5 progression going over bars 7 and 8. And this gives us a nice cycle progression in the bass from A minor 7 in bar 7 to D7 in bar 8, G minor 7 in bar 9, over to C7 in bar 10. And then we have quite a busy turnaround in this blues where we have a chord changing on each beat. And in reality, if you have a close look, what's actually happening, the sequence of chords in bar 11 is simply the same set of chords in bars 3, 4, 5 and 6. However, in this instance, each chord is only getting one beat. In bar 12 we have F on the first beat, D flat 7 on the second beat, which is a flat 5 substitution for G7, then C7 on beat 3, and then G flat 7 on beat 4. And the G flat 7, of course, is a flat 5 substitution for C7. So we're using both the C7 and its flat 5 substitution to create some additional movement. Let's have a listen to blues number 9. Over to blues 10, and once again one of the things I'm trying to do here is to get you to think about these 3-note chords as having several different names. For instance, in blues 10 I'm going to start with an F chord. Now you'll notice later on when we get down to bar 7 we have an F chord with a C bass, and of course this turns out to be the same chord that we're using for F. In other words, we're trying to build an awareness that when you're playing a chord, does it have a fifth in the bass, as it does in this instance here, the C being the fifth of F, or does it have a third in the bass, or the root note in the bass? So that's one of the things as you go through these chord progressions, you'll find that you come up with several different names for a shape that you've used previously in another blues, however named it differently. The main points of interest in this blues, we have a C minor moving to a B7. And of course this B7th turns out to be the flat 5 substitution of F7. So whereas the C minor 7 would typically go to F7, in this instance the C7th is going to the flattened fifth of F7, which is the B7th, and once again we've created this maximum amount of tension in bar 4. Again, in bar 6 we have the B diminished, And of course we have that little bit of trickery in bar 7, the F chord with the C bass, which of course you already know. Over to bar 10, where we have a G flat 7, which is the flat 5 substitution of C7. And you'll notice that I've used the same turnaround in bars 11 and 12 that I used in Blues 9. Let's have a listen to Blues 10. Well, that's it for today, folks. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope there's something there that you can use in your own music projects. We'll be covering more subjects like this in future lessons, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell. Also, if you enjoy the type of things that we're doing here, we'd appreciate if you hit the like button. It really helps us out. If you have any questions or comments, pop them in the comment section below this video. And as always, I look forward to catching up with you again next time. Bye for now.